What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover Pod, where we go against the grain and keep God first in all that we do.
Yep.
I am Jay.
I'm Dorian.
And we are just so grateful for your support. Please, please, please continue to support us on social media. Go ahead and like us on Facebook and all of our social media platforms. Follow us on Instagram. And also, please, 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 we starting to get a little bit of followers on YouTube now.
Look, and you know we got that TikTok.
Yeah, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
We got a couple people on YouTube now. It's not just me and my mama. Because you just started following us last week.
Oh,
no, I'm joking. But no, we are so grateful for all of you.
Yes.
And we thank you for all of your support. Well, today we have an amazing topic. And it's titled, Did God Really Say That? How to Know God's Voice for Yourself.
That's a deep one.
It is.
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one. It sounds deep.
Yeah.
But it's not, the way we're going to explain it is not going to be deep for anybody.
Yeah.
But it just sounds deep.
Yeah. And I think what, starting off is that it's not always just like falling off a log. Everybody just easily hears from God and just knows what God is saying, pinpoint, target, perfect all the time. It's no like, follow these steps. Turn around 5 times, say a prayer, do a fast for one day, and you're going to know exactly what God is telling you. I know for me personally, like it took some time.
Yeah.
Them wheels was starting off real square and then they got round over time. But it's not always just, the easiest thing. And what we wanted to start off with was giving an example of a time that we swore straight up that we heard from God, found out that was wrong. I mean, I've had many times that's happened. One in particular that I can think of is when I swore Caleb was a girl. I had dreams.
Yes, you did.
I had the Lord telling me stuff. I had, people having dreams of like me with pink stuff on. There was nothing you could do to convince me that the Lord was not sending a message to me that I was going to have a girl. We went to that ultrasound. Straight boy. No, nothing. No, we even saw it before the ultrasound was like, that's a whole boy. Like, now what the world?
The ultrasound looked the same as it did with Josh.
Same.
I was that's a boy right there.
But I thought that. But no. That was just one instance I could think of that was just like the first thing I thought of. What about you?
Man, I done had several. Lord Jesus, I done had several. One was... This is kind of comical because we actually weren't on the same page.
Oh, Lord. I always get nervous when you say something. I'm like, what are you about to say now?
It's about this house that we
are
actually recording live in right now. We're actually in our home recording this.
Yes.
And this is our 7th year in this home. Thank the Lord. And for those who don't know, we were renting before we had this house. We owned a home, but once, like Dorian just said with Caleb, we had to get a bigger home because we were in a townhouse and it just wasn't big enough. So that was the house we were owning. We had to rent a house. And that didn't turn out to work out. And this house was a short sale. We came and looked at this house, and I remember coming in. I'll never forget coming in and just looking at this house and being like, wow. Like it just smelled new. It was just like everything was perfect. They had just finished fully renovating it. And I remember saying, like, I know God has saved this house for us, because I remember asking our realtor at the time, well, how many bids are on this house? And she was like, none.
Yeah, it was true.
And I was like, true. A house as nice as this, there's no bid? She was like, no. And I remember God just saying, this is your home. And then later that night, I went and told a person that is sitting next to me by the name of Dorian Jackson.
Don't be.
And I said, I am just so encouraged and so excited because God told me that this is our home. And you didn't even respond with a word. You just respond with a And I was just like, well, what that mean?
I was.
You want to explain yourself?
Well, but see, here's the thing, though. There were a lot of things going on with this house. This house was not just straightforward,
right.
And we were under a time crunch. We had to be out of where we were by a certain time.
Months.
That's a whole bunch of drama. That's a whole lot in a whole other thing in and of itself.
So
there were a lot of things that were going on, and because if y'all know about a short sale, they usually take a long time.
They do.
And it was like 2 liens on this house that had to get cleared up. We didn't know. One mortgage said it was fine to sell it, then another mortgage said it wasn't. So it was a lot of chaos going on in the backdrop.
Yeah.
And when Jay was come talk about this, I was like, look, bro, we can go out there and find a whole nother house without all this drama and be done. Like, we don't even got to go through all of this ups and downs. And even our realtor was just like,
you crazy.
It's going to take a while. Y'all might not be out in a certain time.
Well, can I add to this? Because this is why people thought I was crazy, including our realtor. I said, God told me that
there you go with that.
A short sale that usually takes about 5 to 6 months, we'll be in it in 3 months, which it was identical to the time we had to be out of the house.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
And our realtor, she's amazing too, by the way. But she was just like, she was another one like,
she was like, you sure about that?
You sure about that? So I remember like you looking at me, other people looking at me, and I'm like, Lord, you did say it right.
Like, that's how you start to question.
Like, usually the people who are like, we touching and agreeing, we go fast, but you go pray.
I wasn't.
Everybody was kind of just like,
yeah, I wasn't. But, we say all that to say, like, there are times that, you do hear clear, like, bet, I know this is what God is saying, and this is what we're supposed to do. But sometimes it's a little fuzzy, and sometimes you start out strong, but then as you progress and people start saying this or that, you start to question.
Yeah.
And, there's so much going on now, and that whole church thing too, like everybody got a word for somebody, and like how to really know, like, God, like this is really God.
Yeah. Which brings me to our next point. Okay. I want to reference, I'm not going to read it, but I want to reference 2 Timothy 2 verses 15 and 16. Right? And I'm going to paraphrase it. And it basically talks about how to know God for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And how to avoid worthless and foolish talk that will only lead to godless behavior. Okay. So what is your definition of godless behavior?
I mean, it would be behavior that is, you ain't thinking about God, nothing that he says, nothing that he wants us to do. We just out here doing whatever we want. It has no thought of God, no thought of what the word says. I'm just out here going to do me. Godless.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
What you got?
And to piggyback off of that, my definition would be basically someone who was telling God, yeah, I got this. I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Like you're in the background, you're a resource, but you're not my source.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we often, unfortunately, see this behavior in the church.
True.
You know what I'm saying? From his leadership as well. Right. The do as I say, not as I do mentality is something that, I grew up seeing. I know a lot of people have grown up seeing it, and it's a contagious spirit that hosts of people take on, and one of the things I've learned growing up is a church takes on its pastor's spirit, right? You show me the culture of a church and I will show you the spirit of the pastor, right? If it's a loving, accepting atmosphere, it's coming from the leader. If it is an arrogant kind of I guarantee you. Right now, I'm not talking 2 or 3 people, right? So I don't want people to think like you go to church and you come across a couple nasty people like, yeah, that's the pastor. No, I'm talking about you can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can feel it. One of this is becoming a viral thing now is like a lot of the times when people do praise and worship, they trying to like gangster, like basically threaten you to like give
to
God
stand
praise.
up and to do this. Put your hands
like,
up.
Put your hands up, sucker. Like,
God ain't did enough for you. You don't love God.
You know what I'm saying? Like that person in the back ain't got their hands up. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right, maybe they got arthritis or something. Leave them alone.
It's true. It is true.
You
like
know,
just yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, it's not just because somebody ain't standing don't mean they don't love God. You know,
That is true. That is true. No, you're right.
So I mean, that's the mentality that I see a lot, that I've experienced a lot, unfortunately. So the question I have to ask you is, why do some leaders have a what I say goes mentality? Why is that?
I think, it's pride, and it's this idea that because I'm a leader, over this group of people, I own them. And it's like, no, that's not how that goes at all. And then we've been in circumstances in church where it's just like, you'll have a leader say, well, this is what you're supposed to do right here, totally dismissing the fact of what God is telling us to do. And even, so boldly as to say, like, look, like, well, but this is my position as leader, so you got to do what I said, pretty much. And it's like, well, where that's at in the Bible? Like, who co-sign? That's not how that works at all. And we do have, leadership. We need leadership. We need godly leadership, so that it is when, you like telling your leader, like, oh, I'm led to go do X, Y, and Z. Even if you don't agree with what it is that I believe God has told me to do, loving me through that journey with the Lord myself, understanding that I hear from God as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about one word, and that's, like you already said, that control mentality, and I had my own little equation. I was terrible at math in school, so I ain't going to come on no real nothing, but I just come up with my own stuff, right? It is a miracle that our sons are so great at math, because I'm like, y'all didn't get that DNA from your daddy.
Yeah, that's my little struggle to this day.
Can you tell me how you can have B plus 6 equal a number? Like, just, who cares, bruh? Like, that's just
B plus 6. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, how you turn a letter into a number?
Yeah.
You don't need that growing up. All right, let me stop.
Okay.
PTSD.
Stay focused, Jay.
like a circle plus so and so equals. Come on, Antoine. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Man.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Hey, talk about, you gonna need this in life. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Do you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide?
That's it, and sign a check. That's it. That's all you gotta know how to do.
See how much you got in your account?
There you go.
Can you budget your account? Anybody who's struggling that right now, just be delivered from that. All right, you ain't gonna need that growing up. That was my little tangent of the day.
Okay, like, come on.
But my equation, back to what I was talking about, is church growth plus compliments equals I did this.
Like, they take it on like, this is my doing.
Right. So I grew up seeing that with certain leaders in which they were actually pure spirited when they came in. But because what God was allowing, was blessing and things were prospering, and you start getting those compliments, like, oh,
and then wires get crossed.
You the baddest pastor, you baddest preacher, you the baddest prophet, all that kind of stuff. And instead of just being like, hey, God bless you, thank you, moving on, it's like, I am.
Maybe I built it.
Yeah, I am better than
like Lucifer.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
It does.
You see what I'm saying?
It does.
Like, I am better than
that. It does.
I am better than that church up the street. They can't compete with us.
Our
choir sing them under the ground. Like, it's like, wow.
That's messy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that is a natural, unfortunately, progression that happens with a lot of leaders, in which if you don't have God's voice,
right,
and you can't hear God's voice, there's a lot of times you might be trying to replace God's voice with your own.
Yep.
And that's
dangerous.
That's real difficult, because there are actually leaders who discourage their people from studying the word for themselves, right? So I'm gonna say that again. There are leaders who actually discourage their people from studying the word for themselves, right? Due to fear that their control and manipulative ways will be exposed.
That's not good.
You know what it is?
That's not good.
It is cult-like behavior. Right? That's how you start cults, right? In which, now all of a sudden people are worshiping the leaders rather than God, And I know we have seen things like that.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think when you hear a statement like that? Like, that church can actually become a cult-like atmosphere?
It definitely can, because cults are a thing. You know, we be hearing about it on Netflix documentaries and stuff that we be looking at. Like, it's a real thing.
Heavy, yes.
But that gets us right into, like, how can I know God for myself, or the voice of God? Because, you know, if we don't know that for ourselves, we can easily be duped into anything. Like, we just can. And I just remember, too, how many times did we go to church on a Sunday after Sunday? We ain't never checked them scriptures. We never checked what the word really said. We never did. I never did that. You know, so I mean, one of the top things as far as, you know, how can we get to know God for ourselves? How can we know we're hearing the voice of God? Is studying God's word and prayer and just talking with him. Like, that was one of our main things, you know, as we were preparing, like, what is the main thing, you know, because then it's like, I know what he said.
Yeah.
I know, you know, what he expects of me. I know his promises. So can't nobody come up and dupe me. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on out here now. It's like, it'd be a little like 90% truth, but this little 10% is like, that just don't seem right.
Right.
You know, so being able to kind of navigate that. What's another thing? You know, another point that we have as far as how we can get to know the voice of God for ourselves.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, what's really important about that is you have to be able to know that the voice of God comes in so many different ways.
True.
Right? Like, so, like, for me growing up, I was around a lot of people who, you know, would speak in tongues and would just be like, yeah, I feel it. Like, and I'd be like, well, I don't. So does that mean I don't know God?
You ain't getting in.
Or I love him any less?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I would feel some type of way about that because for real, there would be teenagers who would be, you know, speaking in their heavenly language. Yeah, caught up, you know, and I'm like,
and I'm like, just here.
You know, and sometimes you be trying to make up words. So
you can fit in.
You be like, you know.
Tie my bow tie.
Yeah. He stole my Honda. You know, and you trying to make up stuff. Yeah, because you could, right?
Yeah, like, you can just do that.
Like, you could. People like, go ahead, baby.
And it's like,
all right.
that ain't the spirit of God at all.
And you be like, oh, and they be like, go ahead, brother, go ahead. And I'm like, y'all don't even know. I'm just making up to fit in. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
this is gonna fake it till we make it.
I'm not speaking in tongues, dog. I'm just trying to sound, be like, I'm not the only heathen up in here. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think that's the thing is like, God speaks to all of us in different ways. And for me, God has spoken to me through action, you know, through like, God, if it's not supposed to happen, just don't let it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Just shut the door.
Yep.
And there have been so many times, like, you know, when I'll be looking for jobs and I'll be like, God, I really like this job, but if you don't want it to happen, don't let them call me.
That's it.
And they wouldn't call me.
Because I don't want nothing that God ain't in. So bad as you be feeling like you want, it's like, nah, if you ain't with it, I want no part.
Right. You know, so I think that's one of the things, you know, that we have to understand, you know, and the other thing that we have to understand too is you never allow someone to tell you God's will for your life without cross-referencing it from God himself.
True.
Right? So a prophecy over your life will never come as a complete shock. I'm going to say that one more time. A prophecy over your life will never come as a complete shock that has no fruit with it. Right? So, you know, I'm going to reference 2 Peter 20:21 that talks about that, right? And I think we have to really understand, and it really talks about that, you know, getting to know God's voice, getting to know, like, where is this coming from, you know? And I think for us, sometimes we get a little spooked out because certain people will prophesy over our lives. And I'm like, well, that's fact. That doesn't mean it's fact, right? Some of it can be, but one of the things I've learned in having people prophesy over my life, if there was always 1% of it that I'm like, Now, I may not like it, right? I may not like it, but that makes sense, right? When I got called to ministry, I was 18 years old. Right, 18 years old. The late Minister Madeline Iden, may God rest her soul. She was preaching. And I came to Bible study. It was a Bible study service, and I came late. And I mean, boy, I was blasting the Life After Death album. You know, this is 98, right? Biggie had just passed in 97, so I was blasting the night. And I used to always turn it down right before I turned it to the church parking lot.
There you go.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want people to be hearing, you know, the 10 crack commandments. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want people to hear that. So turn it down, and I slid in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a drummer at the time. That's all I did for ministry. I ain't do nothing else. And she was like, yeah, so God's called people to ministry, and there's somebody in this room right now that's a Pied Piper for young people and young adults. And I was just sitting there like, yeah, that's nice. And I'm sitting in the back, and she was like, Jay Jackson.
Oh.
Everybody in the sanctuary, I'm talking about like 85 people turned around and looked at me.
Uh-oh.
And I was
What'd you do?
You see how I'm looking right now? And I'm looking like maybe there's another Jay Jackson.
Like who?
And she literally said, like, God's called you to be the youth minister of this church, and he's called you to preach, and you're going to be ministering to generations of people. And I was just like, nah, dog, that ain't going to happen. But I knew this is a church I grew up in. Young people always gravitated towards me. And I would like mentor them and coach them in my own ways, even if it'd be like, yo, get off of that pulpit, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? or you get like 3 F's on the report card, like, your mom's gonna whoop you behind, right? So like stuff like that. So I knew there was some truth to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I use that as an example, because when she prophesied over my life, I was like, dang. She's right. And that's the other thing too. Though. When it comes to prophecy, it's not always that, you're going to do great things and it's going to be awesome.
Scary.
Yes. It's going to be scary. And it's like, what? So when she told me that, I'm like, I'm comfortable just listening to Biggie and playing the drums.
Yep.
Listen.
And now I got to be a minister?
Leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone, man.
Yep.
Stay in the back.
Please. And I was scared. I was scared because I was just like, my whole life's going to change.
Yep. Exactly.
So there's a great example, right, of prophecy, right? But there's other prophecies that are just like, nah, they just ran over my head.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, that ain't it.
That ain't it.
And you have to be okay with saying that to someone.
Yeah.
Do you have a situation where somebody prophesied over you like that ain't it?
Yeah. Remember that time we was at my family member's house and they was like, yes, you have a healing gift and you are going to go to medical school and be a doctor and all this business. And I'm just like,
my headphones off with that way.
What the world? And me and you was just dating and you looked at me like, you going to medical school? And I'm just like, what?
Well, can I add to the part two?
Oh,
we were eating and she was like, while she was prophesying, she was just like, excuse me, I'm about to speak in tongues.
We was eating spaghetti.
And her eyes were kind of rolling the back of her head a little bit. She was like,
and this family member, I was like, what is she about to do?
And I'm like, where did Dorian just drag
my gosh.
Because I'm like, the spaghetti was good. So I'm like, do I keep eating while she's speaking in
I
tongues?
didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. Because she ain't never did no stuff like that. And I was just like, what is going on here? What is going on here?
You bring me to. Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was kind of like, it was a little,
like she was, it was almost like she was going to have like an episode or something. So like, cause when she was talking to Dorian, she was just like, yeah, you're going to be a doctor with internal medicine or something.
It
or
was
whatever.
Something.
And she was just saying all this stuff that was just like,
it was like, well, what?
Over your head, right? And she just stopped. She was like,
yeah.
Interesting.
And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
And like she was like, I'm about to speak in tongues. And we're like, oh.
I like how she knew.
It was coming.
So I'm like,
it was coming.
Cool. But then she was just like,
yeah,
I'm like, all right, this is getting really weird.
Yeah. I just didn't know what was going. I'm like, oh God,
like, this is getting a little occultish right now. I'm like, if we start hearing like African drums or something, like I'm really in some trouble.
I don't know, but yeah, that was one of those. And it's just like, girl, like at that point in my life, I was like, I'm done with school. I'm so done with school. Dorian Jackson is not going back to nobody's school. So I knew that was just not the thing. But I will say, when people do, prophesy or speak over, like there's nothing wrong too with taking that back to God.
Right.
No matter who it is.
Yes.
I think we always should do that just to really, put not put the onus on who that person is or what they're saying. But really it's like, let me take this back to God and see what he, shows.
Yeah, it absolutely no, because I'm glad you said that. So at absolutely no time, if somebody's prophesying over your life, do you just be like, yo, get out of my face, man. I don't hear that. Like, let them finish. Right? Because
fine.
It might be something that you are like, okay, I need to go back to God with that. Or it could be something in which somebody is off that you kind of just like, yeah, I'm not with that. I'm not with that. Because I've had a couple of sisters that said that God told them that I was going to be their husband. And yeah.
And we see that ain't true. Don't get me started with that.
We are not going to.
Because I will fire up on site with that. You know that it's like.
That is not that. It is, first and foremost, that was before Dorian.
It
okay.
was,
right.
it
So
was.
it was not while we were together. But you still get fired
I
up.
do.
I don't know
That's
why.
like one thing.
Dog, that was like 15 years before I met
with
you.
you, and then like stuff with the kids. I'll be ready.
Look,
it's just that.
I'll tell Dorian about something that happened in like 97. She'd be like, where's she at? And I'm like,
Look, I love Jesus, but y'all already know.
Look, I was like 17.
Listen, the Lord is working on me.
yeah, he is.
Yo, but then it was that one time, this really last thing. That dude in church one time, he come up to me talking about, you my rib. Like, say what now, Applebee's? What are we talking about?
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
She called him
I remember you
Applebee's.
He straight came up to me like, you my rib. I didn't know him from Adam.
That's
You
a
my
new one.
rib.
Yeah.
rib.
Yeah.
And I'm like, see,
Start
you caught up
calling
in
people
full.
Applebee's.
Yeah, like, bro,
Like, we're like,
what?
okay,
Is that really so? But that's what I'm saying. Like,
the
you just listening
the
and
sweet,
going
the sweet
with
Asian,
whatever.
the sweet Asian sauce,
sweet Thai chili.
the Thai
That's
chili.
The one.
Where we go to Applebee's?
Listen,
Cool.
yeah, but you got to be careful.
Talking
You
about
can't
some baby
just
back
jump
ribs.
on it. Yep. No, wait, that's chili.
I want my baby back, baby back. Baby
Yeah,
back.
it's like, bro, you just, yeah.
Jeez. 'Cause I don't know what you talking about, ribs.
He was, but Applebee's got good ribs. We be eating them.
We do. Yeah, but he was talking about you my rib.
Yeah, like I'm his Eve. And I was
Yeah.
just like, what now?
And he looked like he eats McRibs.
Okay, but remember though, this was
Y'all remember
dude.
the McRib? All right, stop.
This was dude. He was whole married, trying to go through a divorce. Coming up to me in church, you my rib. Am I now, sir? Am I?
Wow. And this was obviously before Jay too, by the way. 'cause
But I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
I'm saved, but I would have floored that brother because we did go to the same church.
Yeah,
at the
and I
time.
was just figuring my life out in the Lord, and I
Yeah.
did talk to him for a little bit.
Ooh.
Sorry, I did. I'm just gonna be honest.
Okay,
just
we'll
a little bit.
We'll
Little
just move on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, see, if you don't know the word of the Lord, if you don't know for yourself, you get caught up in stuff. Now, I wasn't dating him. It wasn't all like that. And I ain't find out that he was quote unquote divorcing until after the fact. But still, it was just like, like y'all know, sometimes folks be saying stuff. You be like, oh, for real? Especially if you don't know who you are in the Lord, know who the Lord is. And then here we go.
True.
Yeah.
But you still.
But yeah, that
don't
got
pay
shut
no
down.
attention.
But still.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Learned something new today.
Yeah, I learned something new there. I didn't learn something new. Huh?
You know
Okay.
who it was because you was ready to fight him.
Oh, that's
That's him.
Ooh, I was about to say another word.
See,
Ooh,
you got
I
it
was about to say
too.
another word.
You got that same thing. You got that same thing.
No,
You be trying to
but I
talk about
remember
me
that
with
brother.
the females.
I
You
remember that-
remember.
I
You was
remember that
trying to
brother.
fight him.
I remember that brother.
One time,
I
but you just
was.
ain't run into him.
I
See how the
was.
Lord worked that
I
out
was
for
gonna
you?
knock
Yep,
that
you was.
brother.
You was. You
I-
was.
I'll just leave it at
Proud
that.
of you.
Yeah. I was gonna knock some deliverance into him.
Really?
Be healed. Shapow. All right, our last point.
This up. Because you know what?
All
This
right,
is-
our last. You the one went on a tangent. Okay.
I had to share my truth.
Okay, our last point. Our last point. Okay. Jesus. Is let's study God's word for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And realize that prayer is literally a conversation with God.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So because I think this is an important thing because one, you said this earlier, there is nothing wrong with cross-referencing what a preacher, a pastor, a
Yeah.
prophet says, right?
Yeah.
That's about having a relationship with God.
Yes, it's true.
Okay. So you have to learn to, like, if somebody says something in your life, be like, well, did he really say it? Right.
Yeah.
So God speaks in different ways. He speaks through action. He speaks through his voice, but he also speaks through his word.
Definitely.
Right. And it's
Definitely.
important for you to be able to know certain scriptures, and you can Google this stuff, y'all. Like you
Yeah.
ain't got to, like,
Yeah.
back in the day, I had to
God
just
say about depression.
About this or that.
literally, you
Yep.
can Google it and it comes
Yep.
right up. What does God say about marriage? What does
Yep.
God say about relocation? Like things like that. You
Yep.
know, if somebody's saying God
Yep.
told you to pick up your family and go somewhere, like learn that for yourself and have conversations with God in prayer. You don't have to be deep. You can literally just say, God, I know what this person said. I know what this preacher said, but did you say it?
True that. That's
Did you say it?
That is it.
Yeah.
And wait.
Yes.
And wait.
Yeah.
There you go.
And wait. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yep.
Wait. Don't just wait for an answer. Don't just go with it. Be
Start
like,
doing
okay,
stuff.
Well, God, in the next 15 minutes, you don't say nothing.
I'm just
gonna
gonna
do it.
go.
No. Okay.
Listen,
it might
you're
take
right.
days, weeks,
A year.
Months?
a month,
A year? Yeah.
Listen,
You know
It's
what I'm
true.
saying? Like
It's true.
it's really important to know this for yourself. So like know that if somebody speaks into your life, one, it doesn't have to be off, but if it
Yeah.
is, God will reveal it to
Yeah.
you. you know, and I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
You know, and just to wrap this whole thing up completely, if God didn't say it, right, you don't have to believe it, and you can move on with your life as well.
That's true.
Right. So like if God said, "Nah, that ain't me," no disrespect to the prophet, prophetess, or whoever spoke over your life, right?
Yeah.
You just move on with your life.
Yeah.
Here's how you know if things are off. If somebody gives you a prophecy and they now tell you to pay them, okay, that's a form of sorcery, right? That's
because that is a thing.
That's a thing now. I saw that online.
Yep. Like what?
Paying big money.
Big money.
Yeah. Like what?
Big money, bruh.
500.
Yeah. It's like, but that ain't.
No, God's wisdom is for free.
It's free. Like I'm like that didn't even come from you.
Yeah.
Freely you have been given.
Yes.
There you go.
You know.
You gotta sow into the word.
Yeah.
No, you know.
Ain't got
Like
sold
what?
nothing.
The word is already rich.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, the word is already rich. Okay.
There it is.
And guess what? With inflation going on, you got the nerve. You got the nerve.
You want me to hold on? to all
Okay.
my ducats?
Please. Cost me like $20 just to get eggs now. You talking about seal this with a word.
It's true.
You better give me some money for my eggs, man. You better get out of here.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to hopefully encourage you with this, and know that God's voice can speak to you in so many different ways, y'all. And listen, please don't feel bullied, pressured, intimidated into doing something that God didn't lead you to do.
That's right.
All right.
That's
so
right.
we hope that this was a blessing to you all, and we hope that you guys have a great day, a great week. We love you guys. Take care.
See y'all.
Bye.
All right. In
Used to that
5,
Hillsong stuff.
4,
What you know about Jesus?
He's all right.
All right.
Don't try to. Don't.
1.